Hello everyone, and welcome to a progressive twisting practice. So we're going to begin seated on our mats today. I am sitting on a block, depending on the flexibility in your hips or how comfortable it is for you to be seated cross-legged for a little bit of time. You might want to add something that has a little bit more height, so perhaps a second block or a pillow or a bolster if you have it on hand. If you're a little bit more mobile through the hips, perhaps you don't need the block, but really just sort of feel that out and see what's going to give you the most access to these postures and the most comfort while you're working through them. So to begin with, we're just going to be seated, and we're going to take just a couple moments to close the eyes and come into our practice and onto our mat and allow the rest of the day to fall away. So just connect with where you're feeling pressure, perhaps under the ankles, the sides of the legs, your sitting bones pressing into the block or the bolster, wherever you're seated. And start to feel the rest of your body as it sits upon your pelvis, and notice how your spine is sitting nice and straight and relaxed, with each vertebrae stacking one on top of the next. Perhaps you can notice into your jaw, just releasing any tension. You might even want to open your mouth, stick out your tongue. Softening the space around the eyes, just allowing any lines of worry or concern just soften. And then if you could visualize a little string tied to the top of your head, as though someone is giving you a little tug, just helping you to sit a little bit taller. Feeling as you sit, the shoulders relax, the thighs relax. Just really finding your seat here. Flutter your eyes open. And we're going to begin by just taking the right hand across over onto the left knee. And I like to create almost like a little tent with my fingertips, placing them on the mat behind my left hip. So I'm going to take a moment as I breathe in to find as much length through my spine as I can. And then as I exhale, I'm going to twist first from the belly, allow my ribs to spiral and follow. And then really there's only a tiny bit of pressure from my hand on my knee if I think that that's feeling good, that's feeling like what I want. And then lastly, the gaze follows. Pausing here to breathe. So finding softness in the belly, letting the ribs open and expand with the breath. And then exhaling, coming back through center, and we'll switch sides. So left hand finds the right knee, tenting the right fingertips behind you, sitting up tall through the whole spine, that little string tugging still at the top of your head, and then starting your twist from the belly, finding that spiraling motion through the ribs, and the gaze to follow. And if you're ever moving into a twist to a degree that you can't still take a full breath, I would suggest giving yourself a little bit of room so that you can breathe first, because that's the most important thing. Perfect. You can come off of your block, just place it off to the side. We'll put mine over there. And we'll come over onto hands and knees. We're just going to take a couple of rounds of cat-cow here, so we're really warming up the spine, making sure that it's free to move in all directions. So for our tabletop and our cat-cow, the palms are pressing into the floor, fingers spread, shoulders stacking over the wrists, knees are stacked under the hips, and tops of the feet are pressing into the ground. Okay, so on my inhale, I'm just going to allow my belly to drop. I'm going to tilt my sit bones to the ceiling. I'm going to pull back through my scapula, really pressing my collarbones forward and lifting my gaze. And then as I exhale, I'm drawing in through the belly, pressing my hands into the floor so my shoulder blades open to the sky, drawing chin to chest. Inhale, sweep through, belly drops, sit bones and gaze lift, pull back through the shoulder blades. Exhale, round out, hold belly up and in, press into the hands. Inhale, sweeping through. And exhale, rounding out. Let's do 2 more of these. At your own pace, if you ever want to pause, hang out in one of these postures if it's feeling really good, go for it. Now, we're going to be on our hands for a little bit longer, so if you ever do find that your wrists are getting a little tender, you could also come up onto your fists, okay? So we're staying on our hands here. We're actually going to take the right hand and place it underneath the nose. And then we're going to bring our left hand, palm down, onto our lower back. So the elbow is drawing in towards the center of the body, shoulder blades squeezing, okay? So I'm going to square my chest to the floor. On my inhale, I'm going to attempt to stack left shoulder over right. So I'm pulling back through my left arm, and then I'm going to exhale and square off. Inhale, lift, take my gaze back, exhale, square. One more time. Inhale, lift and twist. Exhale, coming back. And this time I'm going to release my left hand. I'm going to sweep it underneath my right armpit, bringing the back of my arm down towards the floor and eventually my head. Now, sometimes the weight shifts from the hips, and so we end up with a lot of pressure in the neck and the shoulder. So if you feel like there's a ton of weight up there, just lift out, adjust a little bit, keep the weight back into your hips and your feet, your feet are pressing into the floor. So just pausing here in this gentle twist for a few breaths. You can keep your right hand with the elbow on the mat, or you might choose to extend the right fingertips out in front of you, just accentuating this twist a little bit more. Still focusing on the breath, really breathing into the belly, allowing the ribs to expand, and as the breath expands up into the upper chest and the upper back, really noticing how that is affecting the twist. And the exhales help to bring you out. Okay. So bringing that right hand back to the mat, it's going to help lift you out of this. We're coming back to center. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So left hand underneath the nose. Palm of the right hand lifts up onto the lower back. We're squeezing the right shoulder blade in and drawing the elbow in towards the center of the body. So we start square. We're going to breathe in, lift and twist to the right, maybe look back. Exhale, come back. Next breath, lifting and twisting, stacking right shoulder on top of left, and exhaling out. And one more time. Inhaling, lifting, twisting. Exhale, coming out, releasing the right hand from the low back, sliding it underneath the left armpit, the left elbow and hand can come to the floor. And again, just adjusting the hips and the knees, the hips and the feet to keep some weight in through the lower body. And seeing how this side is feeling, it could be quite different from the other side. Still feeling good. Reach those left fingertips straight out ahead, pressing into the left hand a little bit to bring slightly more depth to the twist if that is appropriate for you. And then your next exhale, can you bring your left hand back to the floor to help bring you back out. Good. So from your tabletop here, we're going to step our right foot forward into a low lunge. Okay, and you can tent your fingertips on either side of your right foot. If this is a little bit too much for you as well and you have blocks with you, you can place the blocks right beside you on the floor. And I encourage you to try and just sneak that left knee back just a little bit further on your mat. I'm just going to pause here for a moment in this low lunge. So think about pressing the left hip forward slightly, right hip back, and finding length through the spine. So from the tail all the way through the crown of your head is one long line. Good. Now we're going to press up onto the right thigh, lifting out of this. So we have some options here for the depth of the twist that you're looking for. Option one would be left hand onto the right knee, right hand again onto the low back, and working much like we did when we were seated, spiraling from the belly and then the ribs, and eventually taking the eyes back into a twist. And you could stay here, okay? Next part to add on to that would be to actually take the right hand out in front of you and open it out to the side and around to the back. So that would be deepening that twist a little bit more. Okay, if you're feeling like both of those, if you're looking for more than both of those, then what you can do is actually take your left elbow to the outside of your right thigh, place your hands in prayer, lifting the right elbow, and start to press your hands together so that one day they're going to line up with the center of your chest. Gaze can look straight over the fingertips, or it might look back past the right elbow. Okay, making sure that the breath is still available for you. And if you're still looking for a little bit more challenge, you can curl the left toes under and slowly start to press the back leg to straight. So wherever you choose to be, we're going to stay here for about 3 more breaths. Your twist, you're thinking about squeezing the shoulder blades behind you, and from your tailbone through the crown of your head should be one long line. Last breath here. And you can slowly release the left knee if you had lifted it off the floor. Bring yourself back to center. Fingertips come down to the mat. And we're going to step that right foot back and take one downward facing dog. So we're curling the toes under, lifting the hips up and back. Whether the legs get straight or not is not important, but just an opportunity to notice any differences through the leg, through each side of the body. So from here, you can either step your left foot forward from your downward facing dog, or you can drop to the knees first and then bring your left foot up to the top of your mat. So settling into the other side here. We're going to walk the right knee back just a little bit, top of the right foot on the floor, just pausing here for a moment in the lunge, kind of getting a feel for that. So again, thinking long line from tailbone through the spine, shoulder blades hugging towards the center of the back, crown of the head reaching. And then bringing the hands up onto the thigh, bringing yourself up. And assessing where, what depth of twist is available for you on this side. So trying to match things up so we create balance. If you did one version on the other side, try to do the same thing here, but see how it goes. So left palm to the low back, sitting up nice and tall on the hips. This is bust up one through twist. Okay, if you're looking for a little bit more, take the left hand out in front of you, open it around to the side, really extending the fingertips back behind you. Let's bust up 2. If you're still looking for more, the right elbow finds the outside of the left thigh, hands pressing together with a little bit more intensity in the twist. So still working from the belly, right? Belly starts to twist, ribs start to spin. Taking the eyes back over the left elbow or perhaps over the fingers. And if you're still feeling good here and you want that additional challenge, curl the right toes under, press the back leg straight. We've got about 2 more breaths here. Control, releasing the right knee back to the floor, coming back through center, taking your fingertips down to the mat, curling the back toes under so you can step back to downward facing dog. And again, just noticing what you feel. Take a moment of stillness here. Just scan the body. Good. Now coming back down onto the hands and the knees. We're going to step forward into a crescent lunge. So we're going to step the right toes up towards the right wrist, left toes on the mat, leg is straight. You're going to find your balance. When you inhale, You're gonna bring your hands to the hips and stand up. So for this variation of the twist, it's a little bit the same as the last. If you're still working on twisting and your mobility there, right hand to the low back, left hand to the outside of the thigh, sitting up nice and straight through the hips and gently twisting. If that's feeling okay, you might choose to open the right hand behind you. Perhaps you can reach the left fingers out ahead as well. And come back to the breath. Breathing will help the balance. Stay strong through the back leg for 2 more breaths. Inhale, coming back through center. Hands to the hips. Coming forward. Place the hands onto the mat. Step back to downward facing dog. Now, like we did on the other side, you can either come down to the knees or you can step your left foot forward into your crescent lunge. If you want to come to the knees first and then press through the back foot, that is an option as well. Okay? Gather your balance. Think about squeezing the inner thighs together, pressing into the feet, come up to your lunge. And then working through the same steps with the twist. So step number 1, right hand to the outside of the left thigh, left hand to the low back. Nice and tall, gently twisting. Perhaps taking that left hand, sweeping it around while maintaining your balance. And maybe adding the right fingertips out in front. We've got 2 more breaths. Coming back with control, hands to the hips, folding forward, hands come to the mat. Step back to downward facing dog. You can exhale this time down onto the knees. Good, good. All right, so this time, getting a little bit playful in our twist. We're gonna take our right foot off to the side, so basically straight out from the hip, okay? And we're going to inhale with the left hand, sweeping it up towards the ceiling, creating the twist here. So again, if that's too much, you can still keep your hand on your low back. Inhaling up. Exhaling down. We're going to switch hands. We're going to inhale up. Could be again that the hand is on the low back. Good, and this time when we come through, we're actually again going to sweep the right hand underneath that left armpit and slowly bring perhaps the head or the shoulder down to the floor. Now, if this is too much, then you can stay in this option here, okay? And always just coming back for the breath, right? Keeping that as really the foundation of the practice, and anytime the breath is restricted, then we're losing that capacity to reoxygenate and restore in our body. We are creating stress if we can't breathe. So we want to back away from that a little bit. Inhale, you can come back up through center, and we're going to switch hands. Switch feet, I should say. Good. So from here, taking the left foot straight off to the side. Right, left hand underneath the nose, and we're gonna inhale to twist. Now again, if this side is too challenging, hand to the low back, just working on stacking shoulders. Perhaps the hand will lift one day. Exhale, coming out. Then right hand under the nose. Same options here, hand to the low back or left hand to the sky. And then exhale, we're going to sweep the left hand underneath the right armpit, moving down for our twist. Now, again, one side may feel different than the other, so watching your breath and working with your breath is going to help you really be aware of that. Filling completely into the belly, the ribs, and the chest. With every breath, nice soothing, complete exhales. And then inhaling back up, coming back. Now from here, we're actually just going to take our knees a little bit wider. Bring the big toes to touch behind you. Sit the hips back towards your heels. We're just going to come down into a child's pose and rest the head. So this posture is both an opportunity to rest, but also a really great opportunity to observe. So as you're here, scan your body, notice anything that's different, anything that might have changed. And allow each breath to take you a little bit deeper, almost like with curiosity into how your body is feeling. And slowly you can press into the hands and come up to seated. And then we'll actually spin over onto back. I'm going to just change up my mat here. You don't need to do this, it's just so you can see me a little better. Okay, so once you come down onto your spine, we're just going to hug the knees into the chest, maybe gently rock from side to side. And then you can release the knees slightly from your body and just start to really allow the arms to take the weight of the legs and draw some nice little circles on the ceiling with your knees. So I'm doing my best to not let the legs do the work. I'm just moving my knees, my legs, kind of from the hip socket. And it's a really nice massage on the lower back against the floor. Good. And then you can bring your feet down to the mat. So we're going to take them about a mat width distance apart. So you can feel the edges of the mat there on the edges of your feet. And knees are going to tip in towards each other. You can either take your arms out wide beside you, or you can take cactus arms, whatever feels good. Okay, so from here, we're just going to allow both knees to drop towards the left in a nice gentle twist. If you're looking for a little bit more depth, you take the left ankle and rest it on top of the right thigh. And you might choose to take your gaze over the right fingertips or the right elbow. If you're still feeling really good and you want a little bit more, you can interlace the fingers, press the palms away from you. Nice full body stretch here. And return to the breath. Fully breathing in, filling up belly, ribs, chest. Letting everything go. Feeling heavier in the mat as you release every breath. You can relax the hands, bring the left foot back to the ground, inhale the knees back to center, and we will go the other direction. So you're going to tip the knees in towards each other and then allow them both to fall gently to the right. If you're looking for more depth, right ankle finds the outside edge of the left thigh. Perhaps the gaze follows the left fingertips. Or perhaps you interlace the fingers again, take the opposite grip, so we'll feel a little bit awkward. And again, press the body long. And then gently releasing, coming back. The option to hug the knees into your chest one more time. And then laying yourself out onto your mat. If you have time to spend a few minutes here, just in silence and in stillness, then I would highly advise that. If, however, you are short on time, you can join me for 3 cleansing breaths before we move on with the rest of our day. So, you're just going to empty out your lungs, and with your next inhale, you're going to breathe into the lower abdomen. Allow the breath to roll up into the ribs, filling the rib cage in all directions, all the way up into the chest, the collarbones. Pausing at the top of your breath. Taking a little bit more air in, and then opening the mouth and letting it sigh out. And then we'll begin again. Inhaling into the belly. Roll the breath into the ribs, all ribs expanding front sideways into the mat. Roll the breath up into the chest. Feel like you're totally full. Pause. Take a little bit more air. And exhale. One more time. Breathing in, belly. Ribs expanding in all directions. Chest, collarbones feeling full. Feeling like you're totally full of breath, then pausing. Taking a little bit more air in. Pause. And exhale. From here, you can gently roll to the side. Hug your knees into your body. Take a moment in a fetal position. Have a grateful thought. And then press yourself back up to seated. And closing your practice. Bring your hands to the center of your chest, pressing thumbs into the sternum, sitting tall, sitting proud. Turn the corner edges of your mouth up into a smile. Take a moment to recognize all of the energy and the light that you have within you, and that same light and